What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rear Naked Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie Kilstein.
And I'm Drew Weatherhead, and we have one hell of a guest today.
Oh my God. You guys, look, there was part of me, I was either, here's what I thought. I was like, he's either not going to show up or it's going to be the best interview we've done. And I think it was the best interview we've done.
I feel so happy after recording this. We just finished recording this, guys. And once you hear it, you'll know why. The guest is Eddie Bravo.
Pan Am Blue Belt champion. Oh, sorry. It's Eddie Bravo.
Eddie Bravo, the master of the rubber guard. He is the leader of 10th Planet, one of the aficionados of no-gi worldwide, and a comedian for people who didn't know.
Yeah, I think we took him to some places that he hasn't been, interview wise. I think we got some different things. Now, I could be wrong because he has done 52, 82, 1,000 hours of Joe Rogan's podcast, but I definitely think we covered some new ground. And at the very least, he's debuting a new haircut with us, which is like, I always fucking like this hair. So I consider that breaking news. As long as he doesn't post a picture until Monday, we got the fucking scoop. We're like the Woodward and Bernstein of Eddie Bravo's hair.
He shaved it right off, guys. If you haven't seen, he's got pictures on Instagram already. And this is the debut interview though of his new aerodynamic look. And I'm curious. I'm waiting for the post to come out to explain why and how this relates to chemtrails, because I'm the government that it does.
The government has slowly been giving Eddie cancer.
All of the mind control agents are now in your shampoo. I'm just throwing that out.
Oh my God. Fucking Per Plus. I knew it. Okay. Guys, so we're just going to jump into this interview because this interview went a little longer. You probably weren't surprised. And then we'll get some of your questions after the interview. But before we get to Eddie Bravo, who again, you want to see his stand-up dates. He's going to have stand-up dates on his Instagram. So you can follow him on Instagram, obviously. But him and my good friend, Sam Tripoli, are going out to do some more live tinfoil hat. Hey, can you actually pull up those dates if you got them? I was trying to do it on my phone. So check them out, or we'll just do it after the interview. But definitely go support Eddie. I know a lot of times, too, he'll do seminars when he's in town, which is really cool. So before that, so check out Eddie. You already follow him on Instagram. Go see his comedy shows. I was thinking, if I lived in a world that, let's just say, wasn't what I always thought. If I lived in a world that maybe I thought was round for a while, and then I found out that it indeed wasn't round, but it was flat. When I walked to the edge of the earth, you know who I'd want to see? Jocko. I'd want to see Jocko standing on the earth, which is flat, holding up American-made gis, American-made boots, pants, supplements, you name it.
Hypothetically, though, because the world's not flat, Jamie.
Well, but if it was flat, which it might be,
it's definitely not. But
look, I felt Eddie, something about this Eddie interview has convinced me to be more open-minded. If the world was flat, I would want to see Jocko from originmain.com standing there with, I mean, it probably is flat. Like, what kind of evidence?
No, look, I appreciate the ad for Jocko because first of all, I don't think he would like to be tied to this, but I do.
He's not being tied to it. I'm just saying that if I went to the end of the earth, which I can do because it's flat, I would like to see Jocko there. I'm not saying Jocko's going to be standing there being like, the earth is flat. I mean, he would know because he's standing there.
Because that'd be ridiculous, right?
Of it. That would be ridiculous if it was just him standing at the end. I mean,
that's the only ridiculous part of this scenario.
That's it. The earth being flat, whatever. Look, who would win in a fight, Jocko or Christopher Columbus? Jocko, obviously. Sure. So yes. I win.
That's a really good point, actually.
Thank you so much. OriginMain.com, you guys, they were one of the first supporters of Rear Naked Radio, and they do great stuff. They do great stuff for vets. They do great stuff for America. We may be going to war with Iran soon, and so we need to help our vets, and we need to help America.
We need quality-made gis.
We need quality-made gis, which our troops are going to wear to Iran when we maybe go to war without congressional authors. It's fine. It's fine. OriginMain.com. You're supporting a great cause. You're supporting a great company. You're supporting really great guys. You're supporting Rear Naked Radio. And fuck it, you get 10% off by using promo code Rear Naked. I love the idea, Eddie, that you're podcasting like you're on the fucking run right now.
Hey, you know what? They're coming after me. I gotta stay alive.
Well, let's just jump into it.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to ask you a very lengthy flat Earth question. I don't. I want to ask you about fucking comedy and jiu-jitsu. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been like really impressed.
Are we on now?
Oh yeah.
Oh, we're on now. Hey, what happened to the introduction? Hi, introduce yourself, please.
Everybody knows who.
We're
going to do the fancy introduction. I hate when people introduce me when I'm on the show, so we edit the introductions.
Beautiful.
I'm not editing this part, though. This part I want to.
Can you tell them my hair is shaved?
Dude, this is aerodynamic Eddie. What's going on? I've never seen you like this.
First interview ever with a bald head.
Woo!
This is
old Joe Rogan.
You know what? I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 in about 5 months. Fuck it. Might as well just embrace it.
I feel like good, man.
I feel like there's probably somebody in your gym with a deadly guillotine and you're trying to just release the friction a little bit to get out.
Head press. Put the stubble right into their jaw.
That sounds like a Jocko move.
That's fucking incredible. Okay. First question. Everybody knows Eddie Bravo. I wanted to ask you about if you think that your jiu-jitsu career kind of made it easier for you to progress faster in comedy. Like when I give people comedy advice or jiu-jitsu advice, it's the same, which is the first however many years you're going to get the shit kicked out of you. And I think it takes like grappling with your ego to start jiu-jitsu or start comedy, especially starting comedy after you've already been proficient somewhere else, right? Like somewhere else artistic. Do you see any connections, or is that just me trying to crowbar it?
Yeah, there's a massive connection between not just jiu-jitsu, just teaching in general. Not so much. I mean, you might be right. I haven't really thought about checking your ego and all that, but in a way, I look at it a little different. See, I started doing comedy before 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu.
Really?
Before 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu was even a thought.
Whoa.
I was doing comedy. I used to write for The Man Show. I used to work for Comedy Central. Back when, you remember when Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel left The Man Show after about 5 seasons?
When Stanhope did it.
Yeah, they left, but Comedy Central wanted to keep it going, so they got Joe Rogan to host. While he was at Fear Factor, like right in the middle of he was peaking with Fear Factor. That was the #1 show. And they knew that he wanted to do, comedy was his first love and his, priority #1 as far as his career goes. And they knew his manager was already looking, trying to pitch a sketch comedy show, like a Dave Chappelle type show.
Yeah.
Me and him were working on. So me and Joe were writing. We had like 35 sketches, and that was the plan. The plan was to pitch a sketch comedy show, just like Chappelle show, Living Color, all that shit.
Wow.
And then he got offered to keep the Man Show going. Joe calls me up and goes, "Hey, dude, they want me to do the Man Show. We could do all these sketches on the Man Show. It's perfect. I don't have to pitch shit. We already got this." And I was like, whoa. And at that point, my whole life, basically, I wanted to be a rock star. I've been producing music, still produce music. That's never stopped. That's always been the #1 goal. Comedy, to me, was just a thing that I felt like I could do, and I felt like I was pretty good at it. And but for me, the comedy was another way to push the music. Like right. I thought we were gonna blow the Man Show up, start writing movies, and then I could sneak my music in through soundtracks. That was the goal. Yeah. So I was doing comedy, and I love comedy. I've always been, growing up, it was always about music. Everything was music. And my two side hobbies, the two things that I always recorded on my VHS tapes back in the late 80s, early 90s was boxing and anything comedy. Comedy and boxing. That's all I had on my tape. I taped everything boxing. Tuesday night fights, Wide World of Sports, pay-per-view. I was a boxing fanatic. I knew every fighter and every top 10 fighter in every division. I would get Ring magazine. I never threw away my boxing magazines. I knew everybody's record. I was a fucking encyclopedia with boxing.
Were you training boxing at that time?
No, I never trained boxing.
That's hilarious.
I loved it.
You were that guy.
I was like, why train boxing? You know, I'm gonna be a rock star. You know,
right. Dude, so I remember, and just so people know, I remember your guys' transition to the Man Show because I was opening for Doug Stanhope right after it went off the air, and Doug co-hosted it with Joe. And I remember, first of all, so you guys know, anyone who doesn't know the Man Show, when Adam and Jimmy were doing it, it was literally it was tits, it was girls jumping on trampolines. That was like the big thing. And then you guys came in and like, didn't you guys try to do like a sketch about like psychedelics? Like it was not catering to the tits on trampoline audience anymore. And I remember Doug, he had an opener. The opener he was doing on the road was he goes, he was like, there are certain places in Africa that believe that a camera can steal a man's soul. I didn't believe that was true until I did the Man Show.
That's true. You know what? A lot of the sketches me and Joe wrote were not typical Man Show sketches. And man, we were getting, it was a nightmare. It would take me an hour to explain the whole situation working at the Man Show. It was basically a nightmare.
Jesus.
And it didn't go like I thought it was going to go. Mm-hmm. And I had quit my strip club DJ job that I had been doing for 10 years. Cash. Yeah, I was making good money around beautiful women. It was a great job, and I pretty much couldn't wait to quit and blow up in the entertainment business. Yeah. So I gave the strip club the middle finger, and I was like, "See you at the top." And from day one, when I first started working at Comedy Central in Hollywood, I realized, oh my God, I made a big fucking
You fucked up. Oh, jeez.
Sucks.
Yeah.
I hated it.
It's so bad.
Oh my God. And it was a nightmare. They kept turning down all the sketches me and Joe were writing. And I knew it was going to get canceled. All the shit that was getting greenlit, I was like, garbage. There was a couple sketches that were amazing. Like Doug Stanhope had this sketch. It was a commercial parody about it, and it was like the shame of wearing fanny packs and like man versus good.
I remember that.
Yeah, he goes, are you ashamed of wearing a fanny pack? And they'd show a guy in black and white, and he's like ashamed of wearing a fanny pack, and everyone's making fun of him. So the answer to that, the solution was the decapasac, and it was a purse. It was a purse that looked like someone's head got chopped off, and you open up the skull and you put your keys and your phone in there, and when you walk around, it looks like you're grabbing him by the hair and you're walking around with a decapitated head, so you look cool. That was amazing. That was an amazing sketch that I gotta find. I was on YouTube looking for it. I can't fucking find it.
Well, dude, what you were saying, and like this will tie into the jiu-jitsu shit I want to ask you later, but like what you were saying, it's like people don't realize that a lot of these TV shows, it's very unfunny industry people telling funny people how to fuck up their own show.
Exactly. It's everybody hooking each other up. Because the funny thing is, Joe came into the Man Show with tremendous power. He was a major network TV star. The only reason he even considered doing the show was because we were already going to pitch a sketch comedy show. So it was perfect. But he had a lot of conditions before he signed the dotted line. And this is where I learned, and we both learned really, how evil and crooked Hollywood is. He had conditions. He goes, okay, I'll do this. First of all, I asked NBC if they'll let me do it. Because NBC could have easily just said, no.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but NBC loved Joe. Everybody loved Joe, and Joe's a very domineering type of personality. So if he gets what he wants, and he basically sat down Comedy Central, goes, "Listen, I'll do this, if I get to hire whoever I want to help write, and they go, okay. I get to hire, I get to pick my co-host. They go, okay. They were going to pick, they wanted Dane Cook. And Joe's like, nah. So
I love the idea of being like, if you guys like Dane Cook, you'll love my alcoholic old friend, Doug Stanhope.
Exactly. So Joe said, I want Doug. And I want to hire 3 of my writers, Chris McGuire, Matty Kirsch, and Eddie Bravo. And they said, no problem. They go, you hire whoever you want. And then he goes, I want to hire the head writer too. I want to be the one. I want to pick the head writer. And they said, fuck it, okay. And he said, I want to be able to veto every sketch and push any sketch that I want through. And they said, okay. And then he ended up meeting with a couple head writers, and he chose one. He found one that he liked. And, that dinner. And then Joe said, okay, hire this guy. So they hired that guy. But what Joe didn't know is that when that guy got hired, he had a little negotiation going on his own. And he signed with an executive producer point, which meant automatically he has more power than Joe.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So Joe hired a guy. I don't want to even say his name. Joe hired a guy, got a guy, the head writing job. Joe picked him, and then that guy ended up negotiating an executive producer point, and that gave him more power than Joe.
Holy shit!
The head writer has more power than Joe. So the head writer, the budget allowed for 9 writers under the head writer. So the head writer made 10. So that head writer just hired all his friends, and they didn't want to hire me. They don't want to hire me. So they told Joe, okay, after Joe signed, everything was different. The tone was different. They said, okay, we'll hire Matty Kirsch and Chris McGuire because they actually have like TV credits and experience. Because this guy, Eddie Bravo, has 0 experience. So we're not going to hire that dude. And then Joe said, listen, you said I could hire whoever the fuck I wanted to go. We're not going to hire that guy. It's too late. The head writer has more power than you. And he said he already has all his guys. But we have room for 2 of your guys, but that 3rd guy, he's gone. And Joe went fucking nuts on that. I got video of him going nuts on that.
No.
I won't ever release it or anything, but Joe basically made them hire me. He made them. He got fucking wicked with them. And they hired me, so they said, okay, fuck it. Well, because Joe said, I'll walk off this goddamn motherfucking show right now. I don't give a fuck. We'll go to court. Joe was like getting crazy. So they said, okay, they said, hire this motherfucker. And they did. And then when, day one, we go in there and they're treating me like shit day one.
Of course.
Because Joe forced them to hire me.
Right.
And they basically said, we came in with 35 sketches ready to go. Hardcore shit. And they said, no, write new ones. We don't want any of these.
Ugh.
So right away, I'm like, oh shit. I was like, I just quit my strip club job and I told him to fuck off. And then, it was dark. And I knew the show was going to get canceled. I go, this show's going to get canceled. And then what? I'm going to be out of a job. I'm going to be 32 years old, out of a job. At this point, I was a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, I was about to ask if we could timeline this. So you're saying it's before 10th Planet started. You're a brown belt under Jean-Jacques.
Yeah, I'm a brown belt under Jean-Jacques. And I actually got offered a job as a brown belt to teach at this gym called the Bomb Squad in West Hollywood. It was dirty boxing gym. And at that point, I'm like, I'll have like 2 students. Who's going to want to learn jiu-jitsu from a brown belt Mexican? There's all these Brazilian legends all over the place in LA. Why would anybody want to learn from me? I wouldn't learn from me. So I turned them down. And plus, I thought I'm going to be huge in the entertainment business. So I was like, so anyways, I was super depressed working for Comedy Central, super depressed. I was never suicidal. I've never been suicidal, but I understood why people kill themselves when they have no money. I understood that. I'm like, shit, I get it now.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be unemployed. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. These guys hate me at the Man Show. And they ended up using 2 of my ideas, which were 2 of the funniest sketches they had on there. They had a Dr. Phil sketch where he's a cokehead womanizer. That was my idea. They did 2 parts of that one. And that was probably one of their best sketches, if not the best one.
I totally remember that.
And well, anyways.
Well, Eddie, I wanted to ask something off.
But hold on, let me give you the timeline.
So yeah.
I was depressed as fuck, working for the Man Show, realizing I was going to be unemployed real soon. Holy shit. Meanwhile, I still, the only happiness I had in my life was knowing that I got a free trip to Brazil coming up, and I get to do Abu Dhabi.
Oh, shit.
So that was Abu Dhabi. So when I went to Abu Dhabi, that was like my last hurrah. I'm like, damn, this is the last vacation I'll probably ever have. I'm about to get fired or laid off. I thought the show was going to get canceled, and it did get canceled. So I went to Brazil for Abu Dhabi with no expectations at all. I thought these guys are going to fuck me up. Royler Gracie, Leo Vieira, these guys are world champion black belts. I'm just this Mexican brown belt. But I won the trials, and so I was looking at it as a free trip to Brazil. Let's go have fun. Let's go to the beach, look at girls, and eat some acai every 3 hours. So I end up tapping out Royler. So I come back, and a buddy of mine said, hey, dude, you should fucking quit that Man Show and open up a school right now. You got to strike while the iron's hot. Yeah. And I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? I went back to that bomb squad place. I said, you still looking for a jiu-jitsu instructor? They said, yes. I called up Joe. I said, Joe, thank you very much for fucking shoving me down Comedy Central's throat, but I got to walk away. And he understood. I quit. Started teaching at the bomb squad in West Hollywood. First day was first Thursday of June in 2003. 18 people showed up. I'll never forget that. And that was the beginning. And I'm like, fuck. I'd rather be broke and be my own boss than work for those fucking idiots.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you is how did you, because man, there's so much of that story like matches up. Like I've had moments in comedy before I found jiu-jitsu, even when things were going really well, where I was super depressed. And especially you're hanging around a lot of like negative people. And, you know, the thing that really, as cliche as it is, saved me is when I started like coaching jiu-jitsu and making jiu-jitsu more of my life, right? What was the point? But when I'm only doing jiu-jitsu, I miss the creativity. So what was the point psychologically when, you know, it's like you want to be a rock star, then you have this like Hollywood comedy writing gig where you open the school and then whether it was coaching or just jiu-jitsu in general, being around it, when did that become enough? Or, you know, because you were still always making music and probably writing and stuff like that, it balanced out. You know what I mean? Like when were you cool with making jiu-jitsu your life because that satisfied you enough? Well, the reason I was writing with Joe and we were writing sketches together, we back up just a little bit, I actually was doing open mics. I was trying to be a stand-up comedian too, as well. Right. I was doing open mics at the Comedy Store. This is like 2001. Wow. You know, and I did it. I probably seriously did at the most 9 or 10 open mics, and I realized it was just like jiu-jitsu. I'm like, damn. I thought that I'd be able to get up because, you know, a lot of people think they could do stand-up because when they're hanging out with their friends, in the locker room, they're telling jokes and everything's smooth. And like, damn, you should do stand-up. So you think you could do stand-up until you realize that when you get on stage, it's a whole different dimension. Yeah. So I realized, I thought, you know, the combination of me always telling jokes around my friend and friends and like Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz were like, dude, you got to get up on stage. You got to get up on stage and tell that story. And I'm like, okay. If you guys think I could do it, maybe I can do it. So I went up on stage and I thought my DJ at the strip club was going to translate. And I thought that was going to translate, and it didn't. And I realized, you know, I did like okay at best. I mean, some nights were better than others, but I realized that, oh shit, I'm going to really need to do what real comedians do to do this right, is you got to go out. It's like jiu-jitsu. You got to work out 4 or 5 times a week if you want to be a stand-up comedian. Because really, the most important thing, in my opinion, about being a stand-up comedian is not really the jokes, because there's a lot of stand-up comedians that are successful that I don't think they're funny, but they're so smooth on stage. Yeah. They're so good and confident, and their public speaking skills are high level. And I realized that I didn't have public
speaking skills at that point. I thought, like, damn, in order for me to pull this off, I'm going to have to practice a lot. So I decided, you know what? I told Joe, I go, you know what? Let me just write and come up with ideas. And you know, I would go up there and struggle, and then Joe would go up there and sound like a fucking god.
Yeah.
And I would just think I could never be that good. He's so smooth. I mean, Joe has always been, and still to this day, he's a fucking red belt at
He's
comedy.
A killer, man.
At speaking, at public speaking. That's why he can go, you know, and do the UFC and be the only color commentator in UFC history that's never fought. You know why? Because it's so good at talking. And I realized, like, I just don't have that much time. I'm like a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm trying to make it in music. What am I going to do? This fucking stand. I thought the strip club DJ public speaking experience would be enough and carry me through, and it wasn't, man.
That was my favorite.
So I decided, you know what? I'll just stick to music and jiu-jitsu and write comedy with Joe. So that's what I was doing.
Right.
And then the Man Show happened, and then I was just a writer and all that. And then when I quit the Man Show, I decided just to walk away from comedy. I'm like, I'm just going to commit to jiu-jitsu and music. Just keep it jiu-jitsu music. Fuck comedy. That's what I thought. It was 2003. I go, I'm done with that shit.
I've been there.
I got a little taste of what it's like to work for a network, and I don't like that shit. I was like, I will never be a writer for any fucking show. That is the worst job ever. Like, I hated it. And zero respect, and those fucking idiots, they don't know shit. No. But anyways, so then I started teaching. But I never stopped writing. I always was like, I would always write, and thinking like, maybe one day I'll go back and try it again. Maybe one day, or maybe I'll use some of these ideas for other comedians or whatever. So I never stopped writing. And then, like, year after year went by, I'm teaching. And then after 15 fucking years, Sam Tripoli said, dude, if you ever want to come back, dude, I'll throw you up on stage.
Sam's the fucking best. He's the fucking best.
Yeah.
He has talked me out of quitting comedy so many times.
So what ended up happening was he after 15 years, this was like maybe, you know, because I've been back doing comedy now a couple of years now. And my main thing was all that teaching, was all that jiu-jitsu teaching, was that enough public speaking experience to, will that translate to the stage and comedy? I didn't know. Because I thought the DJing would translate. It didn't. Well, will teaching jiu-jitsu translate? I didn't know. So the first time I went up on stage, fucking sold out main room Comedy Store. That's like fucking Sam Kinison, Richard Pryor, all that.
Yeah, man.
I'm going up on stage on the same fucking stage. I haven't been up for 15 years or longer. It had been like 17 years at that point. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to try. So I went up there, and within 5 seconds, I realized, I'm like, dude, all the teaching and all the cracking jokes when I teach, and I do like 5 minutes. Like, I've always done like a little comedy with my teaching, because I came from that. You know what I mean? I always would add little jokes here and there. And the crazy thing is, when you teach jiu-jitsu, you're constantly bombing. I'm bombing every night. I'm trying to tell jokes. My students don't want to hear jokes. I don't have a mic, and I'm doing it without a mic. There's no alcohol in the room. Nobody's drunk. Nobody wants to laugh. No. Everybody wants to do jiu-jitsu. So I'm constantly bombing. So what ended up happening is I realized real quick, like, oh my God, I got a mic. I'm used to doing this shit without a mic. Now I got this powerful mic, and they're drunk, and they want to laugh. And they want to laugh, and they don't want to do jiu-jitsu. I thought, oh my God, like, sometimes it's like, I don't know. It did translate.
That's fucking fascinating.
The teaching translated, because, dude, I go up a couple times a month, man. I don't do it like a real comedian. I just go up, I do Sam's show, we go on the road, and we do the Tinfoil Hat show. We do it every now and then. And I wouldn't do it if teaching wasn't enough as far as practicing goes, and if teaching wasn't the right public speaking skill to translate to comedy. If it wasn't, then I wouldn't be doing it, because I can't go up 4 nights a week. I can't do it like a regular comedian. I only could do it every now and then. now that I realize that my teaching does translate, now I'm doing more material. I'm testing out material. Because this is what I do. I'll test it out in class. It'll bomb usually because nobody wants to laugh. My students don't give a shit. My students don't give a shit about my comedy. They don't want to laugh. So I'm bombing. They're like, coach, we gotta train, dude. Enough with that story. I'm like halfway through my story.
I love that you're like, speaking of the lockdown, here's something on the military-industrial complex. And they're like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm totally doing that. But you know where I get a lot of my practice is after class. One of my students has a van, like a van where he films podcasts in his van. He has a giant van. He's got cameras all over the place. And we go in his van after class, like almost every night when he's there. And we just sit there for about 45 minutes and we bullshit. And, you know, a lot of material comes from that.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that's cool. Man, you're going to be responsible for just a slew of terrible jiu-jitsu black belt comedians hitting the stage now thinking they can do it.
I got a couple of students that are already trying it.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to try some stand-up.
We're going to start some 10th Planet comedy tours.
Yeah, Mike Hillenbrand, who runs my Oakland school, 10th Planet Oakland, Mike Hillenbrand, he's starting to do comedy.
Oh my God. Hey,
teaching. I tell everybody, if you could teach a 3-hour seminar, you could do stand-up.
Fuck yeah.
I know
that's
that
cool.
now for a fact.
That's cool. I just coincidentally just came from teaching a seminar and I'm losing my voice, so I apologize if I'm starting to crack up. But
what belt are you?
I'm a black belt. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Under who?
You wouldn't know him. He's out of BC. His name's Dave Rothwell. He's one of the head guys. Excuse me, told you, at Pacific Top Team. We just lost your video. Wait for you to come back.
Okay,
I'll keep talking.
Hold on. I'll find it.
Keep talking about obscure Canadian black belts.
Yeah,
Drew.
exactly.
We got him back.
There we go. What I wanted to run back to, because we kind of skipped over it a bit, and I'm super interested, is so you started your comedy thing before you really got into teaching your own thing. But while you were some brown belt with Jean-Jacques, were you at that point starting to build your systems? Because you have very specific systems that separate 10th Planet from anything that you might get from Brazil. You've got your lockdown system, you've got your twister system, you've got especially your rubber guard system. Like, were you working on this and planning it while you're with Jean-Jacques, or is this something that you sort of built after you started doing your own thing?
There was no plan. The plan was, I've always been zeroed in on putting people, my opponents, whether I was competing or just grappling, putting them, I was focused and determined to make them play a game that they weren't used to. Like, that was my whole strategy, is I'm going to do some stuff that they're not used to. If I come at, because I was always like, if I come at them with stuff that they're used to doing as opposed to stuff that they're not used to doing, I would have less chance of beating them. That's always been in my head. So, and that's how I, not only since day one of jiu-jitsu, it's been that way, but even when I opened up my school, because when I opened up my school, I had people challenging me all the time, every night. I'd be driving to school going, who's going to challenge me next? Because I was like the outcast of jiu-jitsu, and people wanted to shut me down. And,
really?
So every night, people would show, almost every night, there'd be somebody, some college wrestler, some UFC fighter, some black belt. It was like, who's going to show up tonight?
I remember a video
that tried to tap me out in front of my school.
Yeah, I remember a video that went public of some guy attacking you during a class and you triangle choked him unconscious. What happened with that?
That was probably a troll.
I thought so. I was like, this looks like it might be set up.
That was Renato Laranja before Renato Laranja.
Oh, no shit. I'm going to have to watch that back. Oh, my God.
That's fucking incredible. That was his debut. I want to ask you something, Eddie, off of that. And this is kind of like maybe more personal, but when all that stuff, like if you look at your story in hindsight, right? Where I became a really big fan was this whole outcast, not saying no, pushing through, and building this rebel faction, right? Building this whole anti-establishment establishment. And it's dope from like a punk rock point of view to go back and look at that. But like while that was happening, while you were, trying to do it and kind of getting shit on, even just for being no gi, maybe getting shit after you won the fight in Abu Dhabi. Like, we all see what you've made from that, but like, was it hard? Like, was there a part of you that was just like, dude, I fucking love jiu-jitsu. Why is everyone so mad? Or why are people coming after me? Or did you kind of always have this just kind of like, fuck you, artist mentality?
I thought really, I was shocked that the jiu-jitsu community wasn't behind what I was trying to do. Because all I was trying to do from day one with 10th Planet was to improve jiu-jitsu in MMA. Right. And if you're going to improve jiu-jitsu in MMA, you can't be training in the gi. You can't be getting used to collar grips and sleeve grips and all your moves and all your transitions and all your setups. If they rely on some kind of holding of the pants and the collar and the sleeve, that's not going to translate in MMA. That's all I was saying. So I was never trying to build IBJJF champions. There was that part of jiu-jitsu didn't need to be fixed at all. They got that shit down. The gi game, they got it down. I don't need to evolve any of that. Right. But the UFC, MMA jiu-jitsu, I felt needed like a lot of work. So 10th Planet was a special operation to fix or to improve jiu-jitsu in MMA. In the beginning, there didn't need to be that many improvements because no one knew how to fight on the ground. So even with all the gi habits and all your reliance on the gi, it didn't matter if you took a guy to the ground and he didn't know jiu-jitsu. That shit wasn't going to come up. It didn't really matter. He's going to give his back. You're going to pass his guard easy. You're going to choke him out. But now when you go against a guy that knows the system and knows jiu-jitsu, now those grips do matter. That's all I've been saying. And you know what? That from day one, that's all I've been saying. And there was a gigantic resistance against it. Until, little by little, first Marcelo Garcia was the first to come out and say, when I train in the gi, I try to use no gi grips because, when I go no gi, I don't want my game to change that much. I was like, I
heard Lita Vieira say the same thing.
Yeah. And then when Roger Gracie came out and said publicly, when he started doing MMA, he said 80% of BJJ is useless in MMA. Oh. And then I'm like, okay, that's your boy saying it. That's what I'm saying the whole time. Now your boy says it. Now what? Now what? Where's my redemption at? And then Hickson. Now it gets even worse. Hickson says he didn't say 80% is useless. He said 70% of JJ doesn't work in real fights. And so that's all I've been saying.
How did you handle it when, and Marcelo, I came up under Marcelo, so that must have been just like the greatest validation. But before that happened, how did you handle it? Like when you felt like you were kind of like a man without a country, like psychologically, what kept you going through, like pushing through?
You know what? I don't know. I didn't give a shit. I just knew what I knew. And, when anybody came to my school to challenge me, I always threw shit at them that they weren't used to, like lockdown, electric chairs. And that first day, when you come and you don't know my game, my game is to put you in my to take you out of your game. Right. And if I could do that, I have a better chance. So guys were coming in, like I was saying, all the time, trying to tap me out and embarrass me in front of my students. But you're not going to do it that night if you don't know my game. That night, you're going to be wrapped up in my game, and I'm going to have the upper hand, and you ain't going to come back another night. Maybe the next week, if you would have stuck around for a week, yeah, things would have been different once you figured out my game. But you ain't going to figure it out that night. Look at Metamoris with Hoyler. Hoyler was actually working. He was actually working on trying to stop, like in his training. He didn't do it right, but he made an attempt to prepare for the lockdown. Like he had Jeff Glover. He brought in Jeff Glover, and Jeff Glover was only allowed to play lockdown and rubber guard. And that was their attempt to prepare for me. And it wasn't enough. Now, me and Royler rolled 10 times straight. That 10th time, he'd probably figure some shit out, and then things would look a lot different. But
you know what? The lockdown, it's interesting you talk about that, because I took a seminar under you when you were up in Edmonton a couple years ago, and you were showing something with the lockdown that it wasn't really working with my partner. I'm like, I don't know if this is really going to work. Like I can easily pull out of this. And you're like, okay, let me do it to you. And you did it. I was like, immediately when you put it on, I'm like, oh shit, this is totally different. Like when somebody knows what they're doing. Yeah. Like it is, again, probably the difference between Glover's lockdown and your lockdown. It's just a different creature.
Yeah, like he should have looked for one of my Creon chairs, and there's a bunch of them. I have a bunch of them. He should have and then had them come in. You know what I mean? Jeff Glover doesn't play lockdown. Maybe he does, but I've never seen him play. He wasn't allowed to play his go-to game, which is a deep half, and his Darce game. He wasn't allowed to do any of that.
Was Royler just like, who's another guy who smokes weed? And that's how they found Jeff Glover?
Yeah, who's another flat earther?
That's awesome.
What's your advice for... what do you think that one of the reasons that you have been so innovative? Because, we see a lot of innovations coming up, but I think a lot of people also assume jiu-jitsu is done. And so they just kind of play the game that their coach plays or they play whatever. Do you think it was just that you started off as like an artist, as like a music comedy guy? What do you kind of credit for all the because there's no one really who's innovated as much, like just new systems,
I like I said, I don't know, but I do know one thing is that I'm obsessed with, like, I've had so much success, like in my own gym with people, like I keep bringing this up, people dropping by, and that first roll they got with me, it's not enough time for them to figure out my game. So I knew that, and it was very, very important. Like, I wasn't going to have no black belt drop into my school and go after Kimuras or play like an arm drag game with him. I wasn't going to do that.
Right.
That's what they used to play. It's just like Eddie Cummings, for instance, right? Or Gary Tonin, for instance. They weren't trying to, in the beginning of, the leg lock revolution, they weren't trying to play traditional jiu-jitsu with anybody. They were taking them right into leg locks. And why was it successful? Because they were taking them into dark territory that they've never been into. Guys were just like, wow, I've never seen leg locks like this. And that was the smart thing for them to do. That's why Eddie Cummings got so goddamn good, because he knew nobody was ready for it.
Right.
And there's no way you're going to figure it out in that match. In the match?
In the 10 seconds it takes to get underneath you? No, he iced people so fast.
Yeah, that's why with Royler, once I had him in the lockdown and I realized he didn't know how to stop electric chairs and he wasn't doing the right things at all, I thought about rubber guard. I threw up a little rubber guard on him for like a flash in the fight. I throw it up, and then I go, you know what? Let's go back to the lockdown.
Right.
Because he ain't going to fix. Because I knew, just based on all the experience of people coming in, black belts and UFC fighters trying to tap me in front of my students, I knew that you can't figure it out in that first roll. You're going to get caught in the first roll. It takes a while to figure it out. It takes a couple days, 3 days. Next week, if you would have just stayed for a month, you would have been like, but I didn't care. I knew they weren't going to come back the next day.
Royler's so mad listening to this right now.
All he had to do was prepare. Right?
You just had to buy the 10 classes for a week pack or whatever the fuck it is.
I got a question that's been killing me ever since that match. So for people who are new to jiu-jitsu who haven't seen this match, this was a legendary match that went down in an old Super Fights debunked company called Metamoris, but it was a rematch, the legendary rematch between Eddie Bravo and Royler Gracie after Eddie had choked him out down in Brazil to win the ADCC trials. So ever since, Royler they've been wanting to get one back for that. So in this match, though, near the end, you get him in a move that you call the vaporizer, where it is just every evil you can possibly impose on someone's leg all at once. And I remember watching this live. I was actually at a 5 grappling tournament because I worked for them during that year. And a friend of mine brought it up on tablet. He's like, it's happening right now. I'm like, it's happening right now? Yeah. And we're getting to that point, and he's a younger kid. I think he was an orange belt at the time, and he had no idea what you were about to do to this guy's leg. And I'm a purple belt at this time, and I'm watching it, and it's getting deeper and it's getting darker. And I'm like, okay, you need to look away because you're about to watch a full-grown man's leg explode into 20 pieces. Tell me, when you were in that position, how did that not completely blow his knee in 30 different directions?
He was holding on to my pants.
Oh, shit.
He was the one that didn't want the pants too, isn't he?
Exactly. He didn't want the pants unless he was allowed to hold them. And I said initially, and that's a whole nother hour story.
Wow.
Going back and forth with Hoyler on that one. Because he was like, if you're going to wear pants, I'm going to grab them. And I go, you can't grab them. I'm going to grab your shorts. And he said, no, you can't grab my shorts. You're not allowed to grab shorts. Only pants. I go, wait a minute. You can grab my pants, but I can't grab your shorts?
You're like, motherfucker, it's a man show all over again.
Like, what's the logic there? They go, no, because when you wear gi pants, that means that you're allowing people to grab them. I go, really? So if I wore tights, could you grab those? No, because why? Because they're form-fitting? Like, why? What's the reason? It's like if they're loose, you can grab them. If they're tight, form-fitting, you can't grab them. But if they're loose and they only go up to your knees, like board shorts, you can't grab them. But if they're loose and they go to your ankle, oh, now you can grab them. Makes no sense. So we were going back and forth, and then I just decided I thought he was going to back out of the match. So I said, okay, grab my fucking pants. I won't grab your shit. So he was allowed to grab my pants. And in the beginning, he was grabbing like the back of my, like the top back of my pants, like in the belt.
That meow grip where you get a finger in the ass.
Yes. He was like almost like a gi version of an oil check. And, but I was like, fuck it, let's just do it. So the pants, definitely helped my lockdown game. They do. That's why I wear them. It's hard to slip out of leg locks, hard to slip out of lockdowns. So that's why I wore them. And that's why I had so much success with the electric chair. But live by the sword, die by the sword, because all that success I had because of the pants, they ended up saving his ass at the end.
Wow.
Unreal.
So it worked itself out.
I wanted to ask you, this is going to sound like it's a jokey question because it's about weed, but it's a very sincere question where you and Joe are two of those guys that every time I see you guys interviewed, because I hate drinking. Like, my mom was an alcoholic. I just quit drinking. Like, I hate the fucking culture. And I'm friends with weed guys. And I see you and Joe, and you're training and fucking, he's lifting, and you're productive, and podcasts and all this stuff. And so I'm back on the road doing stand-up, and it's the first time I've been tempted to drink. And I'm just terrible at being a fucking weed guy. I have tried so hard to be like, I'm going to be a weed guy. And dude, I can't fucking do jujitsu. I'm every bad hacky joke of like, I just eat shitty. And like, I don't work out. I fall asleep. What is your weed advice for someone who still wants to be active and productive and not just like a lazy piece of shit?
Only smoke weed at night before you go to sleep.
That's really it. So you're not smoking throughout the day, really?
Yeah, well, I can, but I'm just saying for rookies like you. I'm not talking about for me. No, but even I don't, like, if I got some stressful shit going on, I don't like to smoke weed when I'm stressed or I have a lot of important, crazy, life-changing decisions I got to make.
Yeah, I won't smoke weed.
I don't smoke weed when I go up on stage and do stand-up, only in Q&As. Weed's not good for remembering structure. Weed is good for improv and for coming up with ideas. But when you got to go up on stage and have your structure, weed is not good for that unless you have that structure in your DNA. Then you could smoke weed.
I do not.
I don't smoke weed when I go on stage. I did when I first came back. I did for the first 20 times I went up, and then I decided, you know what, I'm digressing on stage.
Oh,
I'm not even getting to punchlines. I'm like, no, I got to stop smoking weed. When I stopped.
When I first started getting paid in New York doing stand-up, it was at like the height of Chappelle's show, and he would always stop by and do sets, and he would smoke on stage and be fine. And I tried it once, and it was just a fucking nightmare. And now, like, not drinking is the best I've ever felt on stage. It's the best I felt with my jiu-jitsu. But with weed, like, okay, so if you smoke weed at night, do you still see it as beneficial or just like a fun de-stressor? So what I mean by that is, like, do you still gain something out of it? Like, I don't want to do something unless I'm gaining something from it.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say most of my comedy ideas and even jiu-jitsu ideas, I got to teach Mastering the System. I put out an episode every 3 weeks. I got to have a new lesson. Most of the time the ideas come when I'm under the influence.
And then you structure it sober.
What was that?
And then you structure it sober.
Jiu-jitsu, I do jiu-jitsu. I mean, I have that in my DNA, so it doesn't bother me at all. But as far as comedy goes, like music, like when I work on music, I have to be high. I mean, there's just no way around it. Like, there's no way around it. I got to be stoned anytime. And so I would say for you, just smoke weed at night and have any thoughts that come to your head, write them down or punch them in your phone, and then see what happens. Just experiment, see what happens. Cool. And then you just fall asleep, and then you wake up in the morning and you're fine. And then you don't have to deal with. If I was you, I wouldn't smoke weed during the day.
No. This is great. Awesome. That was my question.
There you go. There's the on-ramp to the dark side. So you train high though, Eddie, when you're training, right?
Generally.
Do you find that helps your flow state, or is it just more comfortable for you?
I think, like I said earlier, when you're first formulating structure and you're doing something that you don't have mastered, I don't recommend it at all. When you have that structure in your blood and you got it down, like you've done it a million times, then when you add cannabis, it makes it better, smoother. And then you add more stuff and you improv new things and new stuff. But if you don't have the structure down, the weed is going to have you drifting in different directions, and you might not be able to get back to the original point. So,
that's tough when you got someone who's like, I'm going to be a writer. And it's like, do you write? And he's like, no, but I'm an alcoholic like Hemingway. And you're like, no. You got to like learn how to do the thing first.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, this was fucking great. And I was so happy when Sam told me you were doing stand-up again. And it's fucking exciting, dude. It's really exciting to see you like keep growing as like an artist.
It's so much fun. Hey, dude, stand-up is the funnish, except when you're bombing. Then it's like the worst shit.
That is a literal nightmare.
When it's going good. And the Tinfoil Hat shows, it's pretty easy because everyone they're on the same frequency. Doing stand up in front of like a random crowd, different story. If they don't know you, that's a different story. They don't know your story. You got to hit them with the basic shit. But when we do Tinfoil Hat comedy shows, me and Sam are just the room's filled with people that like us. So it's just all fun and just beautiful. I love it. It's the funnest thing ever.
Before we let you go here, speaking of Tinfoil Hat,
this is great. Yeah,
I feel like we've done a really good job in this interview so far, steering you away from going off the rails. Now I want to stop that. The last question.
This is a good one.
A lot of people, even if they don't know you through jiu-jitsu, they've heard you through Joe Rogan podcast, and they know that you have some ideas when it comes to the realm of conspiracy theories. And I don't want to drift so far in every direction, but if I was to ask you, of all of the different conspiracy theories, what people would consider, unproven, out there conspiracy theories, which one that you subscribe to, you are the most sure is real?
So many. I mean, 9/11 was an inside job. Chemtrails are real. It's not just regular planes driving up there. Like today, they sprayed. They're doing something. It might have something to do with 5G. They're spraying metallic particles in the sky. They've been doing it. They've been doing it forever. And in 2016, the CIA admitted it. You know, because at first the crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory was that the CIA is spraying metallic particles in the sky for some nefarious reason. That was the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. But now the CIA admits that, hey, we're going to start doing that to save the world. John Brennan, while he was the director of the CIA, in front of the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, you can watch this on YouTube. He goes, yeah, we're going to start spraying stuff in the sky to help global warming and to save the planet. So think about this. What are the odds that the crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy that the CIA is spraying metallic particles in the sky for nefarious reasons? What are the odds that that actually ends up being the plan that's going to save the world? What are the odds of that? What are the odds?
Now I am definitely glad that I'm not smoking weed during the day, because that is terrifying.
I think it has something to do with 5G. I think as the metallic particles in the sky, it's got to be for transmitting some kind of radio signals or Wi-Fi or something, and they need it, but it's probably fucking super unhealthy for us. So they just pretend it's not happening. They're like, oh, there's just regular planes. It's Southwest. It's Delta. It's Delta. Yeah. So that for sure. I mean, that's proven already. They already admitted that, but they admitted, oh, now we're going to start doing it. Oh no, you guys been doing that shit since the 90s, but now it's a slow drip disclosure is what's going on. You know, and then Tower 7 falls at free fall speed, and no plane hit that. That was a controlled demo.
No, sometimes when the roofs go on fire, Eddie, you may not realize this because you're not an engineer, but just towers just fall at free fall speed. That's normal.
Yeah, for sure.
So you would say, for someone, if you were going to be like, "Hey, I'm going to show you that I'm right on one thing," you'd point them to YouTube and say chemtrails.
I just point them to YouTube and show them Tower 7 falling at free fall speed.
And you'd say, look into it.
I would say the only way, I'm no architect or structural engineer, but when a structural engineer says the only way to make a skyscraper fall at free fall speed is you got to blow out all the support beams at the same time, that makes sense to me. That's science to me. Yeah, 85 support beams. Like if you blew 10 support beams out, that shit wouldn't fall like that. If you blew just look at Jenga, you know what I mean? It'll fall sideways. You blow out some beams, it's not going to fall straight down like that. The only way that's going to happen is if you blow out all support beams at the same time, and that's what happened. And we don't know who did it or why they did it, but that needs to be solved.
I now want to end every interview we do by asking people their thoughts on 9/11, and I want to see how long we can continue that as a new tradition. Dude, this was fucking great. Thank you again. Thanks for doing it, man. We'll post it next weekend and send it your way.
Okay. Hey, I got a couple comedy dates coming up.
Yeah, drop them.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Shit. It's the end. Follow me on Instagram at Eddie Bravo 10P. But me and Sam, we're taking Tinfoil Hat Comedy to Oklahoma City and the Dallas Fort Worth at the end of January. Dallas Fort Worth, we're coming to Hyenas, and Oklahoma City. God, I forget the name of the club there.
We'll find it, and we'll plug them after the interview.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then, I'm excited, man. I still haven't seen we've almost been on the same show a couple of times at the store, but I just moved out to Arizona, but I'm so excited to see your stand-up, dude.
Cool, man. Thanks. Hey, how long you been doing jiu-jitsu?
For like 9 years.
Oh, nice. And you were doing comedy before jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. So I was doing stand-up right when I started to get stand-up stuff. I was like derailing health-wise. And so I started jiu-jitsu kind of late. I started with Marcelo when I was 28, and I'm 30 in New York. Yeah. And so like I did like MMA when I was 17, and I thought I was like going to be like a blue belt. And so I go into Marcelo's and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be like really humble and just like start again as a white belt. And within 5 minutes, I'm like, fuck, I'm a white belt. And so I came up, I didn't tap anybody until I got my blue belt. And then I got like my 4-stripe purple under Marcelo, moved to LA, and then got my brown at Renzo Gracie, Los Angeles. But yeah, dude, like everything, my whole game is still Marcelo. And so now I'm trying to find that balance of, because it's hard. I mean, you get this like as like an artisty person where when I'm doing jujitsu, I want to be training fucking twice a day. I want to be taking notes. I want to be watching, competitions. And then when I'm doing comedy, I don't want to be working. I want to be staying out late. I want to be writing jokes. And so my whole life right now, and that's why one of the reasons this jujitsu podcast is so dope, because I'm like, we get to be funny and talk about jujitsu, but I'm always trying to find that balance of like healthy jujitsu life and then kind of like comedy debauchery. And it's tough, man.
It's a great balance. I love it. And we all have Joe Rogan to thank for that, man, because Joe Rogan single-handedly has blown the sport of jiu-jitsu wide open.
100%.
Especially, financially. Jiu-jitsu has never been as big as it is now. And it's a combo. Joe, as big as he is, always talking about jiu-jitsu, and Trump, fixing the economy. Dude, everybody's doing seminars. Everybody's school blowing up. Everybody's blowing up.
Don't get Jamie started on politics. Oh my God.
It's great. It's great.
If you're doing jujitsu and you're pushing for socialism, you're basically pushing to kill your business. That's what you can't have successful jujitsu schools, prospering jujitsu schools in socialism.
Should I tell them in Canada,
right now,
in my jiu-jitsu school?
Everybody's doing seminars. Everybody's school's blowing up. You guys better realize why.
Eddie Bravo, making America great again. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, talk soon, brother. Bye.
See ya.
That was such a fun interview. I can't believe we got Eddie Bravo.
Can we talk about how my phone was on airplane mode, by the way, and the second I turned it on, we both texted each other at the same time, just going, oh my God, because that was so fucking fun. I love when like artists of like one genre or whatever, when you get them talking about their kind of like side passion. I mean, like, I obviously consider Eddie a comic, but he's a fucking jiu-jitsu guy, right? Like the majority of people know him from jiu-jitsu. So watching him light up with that enthusiasm, talking about stand-up was fucking really cool for me.
Definitely. And to have him on the show, talking about things that, like, it was rare to get him on here. It was rare to get that comedy look out of him. In fact, how rare would you say it was?
I don't know where you're going with this. I mean, it was
obscure.
It was obscure.
You missed it. Fuck, you missed it.
Do it again.
So Jamie, it was rare, right? So would you say it was kind of rare? Would you say it was more than kind of rare?
No, I'll go kind of rare just because you're shouting it for some reason. So yeah, it was kind of rare.
Hey, Jamie,
it was kind of rare.
God damn it. It was super rare. It was super rare. Our sponsor, I was trying to do an ad for a sponsor.
What?
Yes, our sponsor, superareshop.com.
Right. What does that have to do with Eddie Bravo?
It doesn't. It was a weak segue.
Do it again. Do it again.
Okay.
Do one more time. Hit me.
So Eddie was on the podcast.
Jiu-jitsu. Fuck. Sorry. That was my fault. That was definitely my fault.
I'm super happy to announce before we get...
no, you're super rare. Their name isn't super happy. Their name isn't super happy, idiot. Now you're going to have a bunch of people going to superhappyshop.com.
I don't want to know what's on that.
Jesus, there's at least one goddamn professional here for this podcast.
Okay, fuck, this ad is already off the rails.
That's good.
Let's just leave it with, we've got 15% off, which is more rare.
Fucking
15% off if you use the code word rear naked online or
I'm wearing their shirts. They're Jiu-Jitsu versus everybody.
Yeah.
Look at that shit. Look how fucking cool it is.
Have you walked into a room where there is everybody yet?
No, not yet.
What do they say?
if I walked in a room with everybody, that would remind me of the fights from the old Bruce Lee movies, which SUPERARE has a brand new line of Bruce Lee shirts. That's how you do a fucking segue.
That was a good segue.
I wore my Muhammad Ali shirt on a very massive political television show. Because we didn't know if SUPERARE wanted to stay with us for the month.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I have to do everything in my fucking power to do it. So I crowbarred this so hard. I guess the New York Times wrote some piece about like masculinity, which is why they wanted to talk to this guy.
Hey.
And so I changed. I had a cat shirt on, and I had the Muhammad Ali shirt on, and I was like, yeah, since we're talking about masculinity, I'm wearing my Muhammad Ali shirt. And yeah, so I literally forced it onto national television because
Beautiful.
I fucking love this company. I love these guys, and it's legitimately the coolest fight shop I've ever been to. But like, that's 100% sincere. But the fact that they really want to, they support what we do, and they want to help the show grow at its infancy is really, really fucking cool.
Yeah, when they came on, guys, they were our second of only 2 sponsors, and they weren't sure, to start off, like how many shows they were going to sponsor. So it got us on.
It could have been they may have just sponsored so few that it would have been super rare.
Oh shit! Okay, we're done. That bit. That bit's done. Leave it.
Oh, okay. Okay. That was a while. Fair.
Okay. But they were so happy with the show so far that they actually decided to re-up with us again, which we weren't expecting. We're so happy about, and we really want to really pass that support back on to them. So
yes.
This is where you come in, where you can use that code. It shows that you listen to the show, that you support the show, and you support them, which, like Jamie said, is like the best fight shop out there, legitimate.
Yeah. 15% is also no joke. When you start like racking up shit, go to the website, guys. I just implore you to go check out the website and see their shit, and you're gonna be like, oh, like, it's fucking awesome.
All right, guys, we've got some questions here that we took offline. Thanks for sending those out. I'll make sure to shout out who put them up there. There was a ton of actually good ones this time. I was impressed, guys. You're upping your game.
Since Drew is getting so many great questions at Because Jitsu, his inbox is probably very full. If you want a better chance of getting your question answered, come over to my dry vagina of a inbox over at the Jamie Kilstein, far less popular Instagram, at the Jamie Kilstein. My DMs, they'll get fucking read. They'll get read. So follow me on Instagram.
I feel like I just got followers sniped. Did you just snipe my followers?
At the Jamie Kilstein. You don't have to unfollow Drew. That would have been really aggressive. I don't know how to make a meme at all. Like, I have no idea. Okay, yeah. So the first question we got was someone wanted to hear a funny story from training, right?
That's right. Yeah, Scarlet.cat. Thanks for that question. And Jamie's going to hit it since he's the funny.
Okay, so this is just kind of shit talking, but I remember I'm always like really chill when I go to other people's gyms when I'm on the road. Like, I'll like flow someone's. Oh, I got 2 spazzy ones. But the 2 worst experiences I had training on the road, I was training at some gym in Texas, and he was like, I think he was a black belt. And he didn't really have any like credentials and stuff, which is fine. Like, I just want to train, right? And I don't even think I said that I was a Marcelo Garcia student. I was probably a blue belt then. And so he was like, you want to roll? I think we were doing like a private because there weren't classes when I could train. And I was like, yeah, let's roll. And he gets, we're rolling, and he gets on my back, and he goes to choke me. And before he goes to choke me, he goes, now you know what it's like to roll with a black belt. So weird. So fucking weird. And then there was a place in Denver I went to. It was one of the famous like MMA schools. And I show up to like the 6 a.m. class, 7 a.m. class. First of all, everyone's smoking cigarettes outside. So I was like, did I show up to like a fucking meth lab? Like, it was so bizarre. And so they're smoking cigarettes in the gym. It's just cold. Everyone walks in. They smell like fucking cigarettes. I'm like, this is weird.
It's weird.
And there was a dude, the guy who was teaching the Jiu-Jitsu class. Well, like, so I did the Muay Thai class first. They're sparring. The instructor fucking like hit someone so hard with a liver kick, he screamed to the point where everyone stopped. And I stopped with my partner, and my partner was like, it's fine. In kind of a like, this happens a lot way.
No.
Then I go to do jujitsu, right? And the guy who's teaching jujitsu, there's a purple belt and he's covered in tattoos. And I go, cool, we're going to be friends. I'm covered in tattoos. And so I'm looking at his tattoos, and on his hand, he has a fucking swastika. And I look down and he sees me see it. And he goes, oh, I've been meaning to get rid of that. And I'm like, you've been meaning to get rid. If I have a swastika tattoo that I've been meaning to get rid of, that shit is at the top of my to-do list every fucking day. Before groceries, before take the dog to the vet, it's remove swastika from very visible portion of body is number one every day, every fucking day. And then, so I roll with him, and he's rolling like a psychopath. Plus,
you
last
don't
name.
Say.
Yeah. Plus my last name, Kilstein. So I just go, I'm just going to fucking like let him do whatever and like tap when I feel. And so I'm just going really, really light. And then I had this moment where I'm like, man, was I being a pussy? Like I go on the road, like it's cool to train light, but like I probably should have tried not to like fucking for my people. I don't mean like I should have taken out like the Nazi, you know what I mean? But what I mean is like, I'm like, I should have been a little more aggressive. I should have tried to fight. He's a teacher. He's probably not going to injure anyone. He was probably just going hard, and I should go hard. And literally 30 seconds after having this thought, I just hear, and someone scream. And it was the guy who was rolling with him, whose finger is now going from horizontal to completely vertical. Like it is going all the way down his fingers. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see, but his finger went completely fucking horizontal against, and
right
immediately
ankle.
had, yeah. And like they immediately had to go to the hospital. So you know what? Those weren't funny. Many people got hurt in my stories, but that's what I consider.
This is the humorous. Dark humor of jiu-jitsu is you lose your soul early, and it's all injuries.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that time that my knee got blown apart by a Nazi. See, hilarious.
My brother has so many injuries from jiu-jitsu, and the other day my family was like, yeah, they always let Nick board airplanes first, and like we don't know why. And I'm like, probably because he's fucking limping and they think he's a vet. Like he has like no MCL or AC. He has like no knee left.
Oh man. So there's a life hack for everybody out there who has good knees and wants to get on a plane real quick.
Yeah. Do you remember that Simpsons? Do you remember the Simpsons episode where it's Christmas and Homer Simpson not only parks in a handicap spot, he parks across all 3 handicap spots, and then he gets out and just limps into the store?
Talk about selling it. That's how you sell that one.
So good. All right. One more question.
All right. Last question. We're actually the internet's getting a little sketchy here, guys. So I apologize, especially on the YouTube if Jamie's freezing back and forth. But
sorry, it's that fucking hotel. I'm so glad we got the Eddie interview though.
Yes, yeah, that one was flawless. I don't know why it's just 2 of us on here and it's getting all fucky, but it is. So
all right, well, we'll answer the question and get the fuck out of here.
All right. Second question, and this one's an interesting one for us nerdy jiu-jitsu guys. That's why I'm going to field this one first, and Jamie can jump in as we go. Is Gordon Ryan versus Prime Roger Gracie? This is from Austin.s. Appreciate that one. That one's a nice nerdy question for me.
What if it was from Hodger.Gracie at... You like to think Hodger would win though, right? Like, what?
Yeah. Why would Hodger beat Gordon Ryan every time? Your opinion.
Why is Hodger Gracie super coolest in the world?
Okay, that one totally fell apart. The aliens took away that audio.
Oh, it's all right. It wasn't funny.
Okay, so my opinion on Gordon Ryan versus Prime Roger Gracie. This is like Prime back in the Mundials down in Brazil. The Mundials back in the day when he was fighting Jacare and fighting Shanji and like legendary battles down there. You plug Gordon Ryan into this. Okay, first problem is it's going to have to be ADCC because Gordon is deathly allergic to cotton, specifically made into gi form. He's very, very, it's a sad story. It's a unfortunate disability he was born with, but he cannot train in a gi. So it would be ADCC. And Hodger did win more than one ADCC. So it's still a very up in the air battle. The question is, can Gordon beat him? I honestly, this is it comes down to a battle of styles, and Gordon is hyper good with the leg locks, which didn't really exist back then at the extent that they do now. But this could actually probably be answered by Gordon himself, who we will get on the podcast, guys, who are fans of the King. He is coming.
I'm sure Gordon will very humbly say that Hodger would beat him.
Right, yes. But no, this is the thing, though. He's going to have to answer honestly because they've trained together.
Right.
Yeah, because Hodger goes over to train with his cousin. Or uncle? Cousin.
Dude, I used to fucking have Hodger's number. I trained with Hodger. I got to get him on the I don't know.
That was a humble flex. Thanks for that.
No. Like, I literally forgot, which is also kind of a funny story. I remember we were rolling, and I went to...
Hey, you're precious crazy. What's your number?
Yeah. I went to put him in X guard, and he just goes, haha, Marcelo. And then he just smashed
How quaint.
It was fucking insane.
I remember when I beat this guy.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right?
Like, so cute. Yeah. There's a picture of me and him on my Instagram at the Jamie Kilstein.
Now there is a flex.
Yeah, I think there it is. Yeah. I think that... I kind of think that it's sort of what Eddie was talking about. I mean, clearly now Hodger's going to know like leg locks, especially training with Danaher, training over at Henzo's and stuff like that.
So it might be more of a battle of eons instead of a battle of styles because it's changed so much.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Gordon is he's just a fucking phenom, man. Like anybody.
I thought you were going to say he's so handsome.
He's so he is though. Like that also makes me mad. And now that he does his like little posing model shots, I'm like, motherfucker, like you're also handsome. And then you read his shit talking and you're like, and you're funny. Fuck you. He's crazy. He's a crazy person. Do you think he retired? That retiring thing's a bit. Right?
Yeah, I read
if it's a
that.
bit, it's fucking hilarious.
As an absolute troll. This is something
at no point did I think that was serious. Do people think it's serious?
So many people do. It was up on all sorts of like jiu-jitsu news sites saying
wasn't Danaher like this is what happens when you go on the road with a girl or some shit like that?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Connor did the same thing where he thanked Dana White for the cheddar and then disappeared and also then just reappeared and got a bunch more fights. So I don't
made so much more money. Yeah, dude. So I'm going to go Gordon, just because he's Gordon.
You know what? I feel like that's the safe bet in this era because we've seen more of him recently, but I'm going to go Hodger because the guy who Gordon narrowly beat in ADCC finals this year being Buchecha, Hodger submitted in their last match.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. That's
cool.
Super good. Who do you think's more handsome?
Oh man. Well, I mean, if you're going by girl standards, Hodger's got the height and the Brazilian tan.
What kind of distancing bullshit was that? No, I'm going by this dick.
Yeah. If you're going by shows his abs and in way too tight spankies, yeah, that's gonna be Gordon's.
Yeah. Hodger is very tall. I remember that though. He's very tall. All right. Well, I'm sorry I took us down this path for the end of what was a great episode. Guys, follow us on social media. You know that. Also, and I want Drew to plug his shit. I have a podcast that's 3 days a week. It's called the Jamie Kilstein Podcast. And we do talk about jiu-jitsu and we talk about mental health a lot. We also talk about politics in not a douchebag way. And next week, kind of an overlap, I did Kyle Kingsbury, former UFC fighter Kyle Kingsbury. It used to be called the On It podcast. Now it's just the Kyle Kingsbury podcast over on Aubrey Marcus's network. I did his podcast and then he, like a month ago, and then I just did, and then he did mine. We did it like 2 in a row. So you can listen to me over at Kyle's, but also I'm going to air that finally. And I think the whole thing was a fucking blur because we did like 3 hours, but we talk about open relationships. We talk about confidence. We talk about jiu-jitsu. So that's going to be next week. You can subscribe for free. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. It's just called the Jamie Kilstein Podcast.
That was great. Actually, that's how I got into learning about Jamie. I knew about him from comedy and from the Joe Rogan Experience that he's done, but I started listening to his political podcast, and I am personally very non-political. I try to stay as unpartisan as I can because it grosses me out, man.
It's
especially
garbage.
As a Canadian watching like third person, all of the shit throwing down in the States against each other. But Jamie, like I was trying to lead to, he does his podcast in a nonpartisan way where he just talks about the issue and as its own.
I try to be funny.
And he's so funny.
It's also, this is one of the reasons that I got so excited to do the Jiu-Jitsu podcast is because politics is so fucking toxic. I'm like, my favorite thing to talk about is jiu-jitsu. I used to have a very political show that I do not stand by. But there was an inside joke going, the way you can get Jamie to read his emails is put jiu-jitsu in the subject, and then you'd click it and it would be like, sorry, I had to do that. Anyway, when Noam Chomsky said, and I'm like, ugh, like all I want to do is talk about jiu-jitsu. So I'm so glad that Drew and I get to do this.
Yeah, and you can just delete those emails.
Yeah. Oh my God. Promote your shit. Your YouTube channel is awesome.
Yeah. So I've got a YouTube channel for people who want to actually, they like the memes, they're enjoying the podcast, but they want to learn some actual jiu-jitsu. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I have a technique video YouTube out there. If you just look for Because Jitsu on YouTube, I've got like closing in on 4,000 subscribers right now. I'm trying to blow that one up. And what's cool is I'm actually in the process of filming my first technique series that I'm going to make available online. And like, I shit you not, I've been playing around with this specific grip called a reverse Kimura grip for like almost the last year and found so many amazing options. It's basically like, to start with, it's like a cheat code to the back. So if you like being on someone's back, hey, that's a good one to use. And
I've seen training footage of Drew using it, and it's dope. It's real. I'm very excited for this.
When you use it the way that I use it, the way I'm going to show in this series, you're going to get bored with how often you get on people's backs. You're going to be like, I want to try the other things that he does, but they just keep giving their back.
You know what? In June, dude, I'm playing the comic strip up in, I think it's Edmonton.
Yeah.
We should, by then the podcast is going to be fucking gigantic. We should either do like a seminar or at least fucking hang out and train, but I want to see all of this stuff. Yeah. I'll have more tour dates, by the way, coming up that I'm going to start to promote. There's one more thing I want.
Subscribe to that YouTube so that you can see all of my random shit about jiu-jitsu. Like there's all sorts of different techniques on there, but then pay attention and look out for that technique series that's going to be coming out soon.
And we hate promoting ourselves because we're artists, but while you're over at YouTube, subscribe to the Rear Naked Radio. It's youtube.com/Rear Naked Radio. Even if you listen, most of you, like thousands and thousands of you, listen to the audio podcast, but having subscribers on YouTube is really good. We have a very famous rock star coming on the show, and their publicist was like, can you like send us towards the show? And because it's new, it's like if the YouTube channel looks like it has like fucking like 200 subscribers, they're going to be like, no. So if you want us to be able to get bigger guests, eventually get monetized, all that good shit, it helps just to subscribe it. And then I made a video that kind of blew up on Instagram called The Epstein Choke and the Cover Up.
Hilarious.
It's
the funniest jiu-jitsu video I've seen in my life.
Oh, thank you, man. B-Max said that too, which was so sweet of him. So that is on my YouTube, youtube.com/Jamie Kilstein, or you can go to my Instagram as well.
Before we sign out here, I just want to throw out there, like, big thanks to everybody who's already been listening, but we have been steadily blowing up from episode to episode. And last episode being Gary Tonin, we were downloaded in 56 different countries worldwide.
That's amazing. Did you see what I tweeted Tonin? I'm like, it's all the prostitutes and ladyboys you've slept with from around the world.
Hilarious.
So fucking let's keep growing this. Tell people at your gym. That's the best thing you can do. We're not going to ask for money for you guys. So what we do ask is support our sponsors. But the most important thing is word of mouth. It's just be like, yo, there's finally a fucking dope jiu-jitsu podcast. I mean, the guests just are going to stay good.
Facebook page or group chat, throw it in there and tell people to check it out.
Yeah, and then fucking send us that screenshot or something. We'll read it or promote the shit out of you. Yeah, tag your gym. That's a great fucking idea. So thank you guys. Send in who you want to see on the show. Keep sending in questions to both of us, and then we will see you next week.
Awesome. Love you guys. Take care.
Bye.